Hello, Matthew Grant here, one of the partners from InsTech London, and welcome back to the InsTech London podcast. Or if this is your first time, thank you very much for joining us. So for this week, we've got two great stories from a couple of founders who spoke to us at our last event at the Steelyard in February, when we had 250 people joining us. It seems pretty extraordinary now. Now, both companies are in the early stages of launching, but we've been really impressed by how much these two founders have already achieved. Sai Lakshmi has already founded and sold one business, which was Echo, a pharmacy, and he's now launching Caura to bring together various things car-related into one application. Amit Patel is a trained surgeon, but he has also spent 7 years at Bupa Ventures and is launching Hlthie as a new way to offer health insurance. It's only a few weeks since we spoke to them, and a lot may have changed around us since then, but I've no doubt we're going to be seeing a lot more from both these companies in the near future.
So Sai, you have already done one startup and you've been successful. Before we talk about that and what you're doing, let's just have a quick reminder of what you're doing at Caura.
Sure. So just again, I always love audience participation. Who drives a car in this room? Who finds it a pain in the arse to drive your car? Like in terms of all the payments, MOT, taxes and all of that stuff? Yeah, most of you basically. Okay, so at Caura, what we're basically building for drivers is a tool to manage all of the different payments associated with your car. So we're building the tool to manage MOT, road tax, tolls, parking, congestion charge, and of course, insurance, all in one seamless application.
Everyone get that?
And a lot of people are like, are you going to do all of that in one go? And the answer is yes. So we're actually going to be launching in public in about a month's time. And so we'll already have the functionality for MOT, congestion charging, parking and tolls. And then obviously insurance is going to be coming a little bit later on.
So it's a classic model. You're leading with some other need that people have, and you're basically sort of sneaking the insurance in through the back end.
Yeah, it's massively cheeky. When we look at product, we always start with a customer pain point, and you always need to say, well, what does the consumer find really, really irritating? And you start with that pain point, and then once you've figured that out, you get customers onto your platform, and then you can give them the cross-sell and upsell with other products and services.
Now, this is your second company, or founding your second company. What have been a couple of takeaways that you learned from doing the first time round that allow you to do this hopefully more successfully, but certainly do it faster and scale this time?
Yeah, so the first company that I started is a business called Echo, which is an app to manage your repeat prescriptions on your smartphone. That business was acquired by Lloyd's Pharmacy about 9 months ago. I think key takeaways from that business, I think you really got to plan ahead. You need to know what you're building at what time, and then get the engineering team to focus on that build in various steps. And then I think also once you've done one business, you have a better understanding of who you want in your team. Two of our team are in the audience. You should go and find them because they're great at insurance and marketing respectively. So please find them. And
great. And how much of the data you need to be able to build your application is either open source or is reasonably available if you negotiate a relatively straightforward deal with the providers, meaning they're not going to do an exclusive deal with you? Is it relatively easy to get that data?
I wouldn't say it's easy. I think it's 50-50. So half of it is available on open source systems, and then the other half is basically beg, steal or borrow, right? We're a startup and we need to deliver the product that consumers want. And so there's no silver bullet, but there's lots of different ways to get what you need to do.
And you must rely pretty heavily on a hosted environment. What do you look for when you're looking at who you choose to work for going for one of the cloud providers?
Yeah, so there is a thank you and an apology in here. So we actually use a combination of GCP and AWS. So GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and Amazon Web Services. I don't actually know the reasons for why we're using both, but I know that the GCP side of things works better for us on a consumer authentication side of things. I think, going back to Google, where we think our relationship is going to go with that organization, I think short term is obviously with Google Cloud Platform and Google credits for AdWords and things like that. And I think in the midterm, we obviously want to build out our product proposition, which will obviously include Google Maps, which is hosted on Google, obviously, Google Pay, Android Auto, and all of that side of things.
And you mentioned Google credits in passing. I don't know how comfortable you feel talking about it, but that's a concept that is quite important for people starting up businesses where, by implication, you get free access to the cloud. Can you just talk a bit about that?
When you start a business, the amount of server costs can be, in the few hundreds of dollars. But as you start ramping up users and ramping up instances of your service, that can go into like $5,000, $10,000 a month. So those credits are unbelievably helpful in the sort of first 12 months of existence because, that's probably after headcount one of your biggest costs. And so, the support that you get from GCP is invaluable on that side of things.
So finally, I think you're going into beta test on your app at some point soon. You might even already be there.
Yeah, so we launched in private beta about a month ago, and then we realized how many things were wrong with it. So we decided not to keep shipping it out to consumers. I think a lot of those fixes are being done as we speak right now by the engineering team. So we should be in a position to do a second private beta in 2 weeks' time with a full public launch, fingers crossed, Q2 20.
Fantastic. Well, Sai, thank you very much. It's been great.
Thanks for having us.
I'm the founder of Hlthie, Amit Patel. We're effectively here to transform the way people access and fund healthcare. We think health insurance is broken, and there's a number of reasons for that. Customers, frankly, have been voting with their feet. If anyone follows the trends in the market, customers have been declining by 1% per annum over the last 20 years. We think it's an unaffordable proposition today. It's quite complex, particularly for the customer to understand what's included in it. We definitely think digital servicing, customer experience needs a kind of massive upgrade. And there's this other thing that's been coming through from customers, which is it's sort of unfair. So when I put my premium down, I don't claim. Typically, I don't derive much value back, and my premium goes up on renewal because I'm a year older and a higher inherent risk. So Hlthie is here to solve for those things.
Great. And many people get their health insurance through their employer. Are you targeting the employer market, or are you after the people that are either don't get it through their employer or choose to do it just personally?
Yeah, I think as you think about how the workforce is changing, people are seeping out of large corporates and starting to work in the gig economy. They're also moving to smaller enterprises. So I think that the market for us, target market, does include individuals, SMEs and corporates, but we would like to start in the SME and individual area where we see sort of more people underinsured and more angst about trying to get insurance.
What's your view on the impact of wearables? There's quite a few companies out there who are in a similar space who are looking at using wearables that track how far people walk, blood pressure, things like that. And now, I guess there's two ways of thinking about that question. One is using the very specific data. The other one is it just define a type of behavior that's meaningful when you look at selecting or pricing people.
So I'm a surgeon by training, so I can qualify some of my answer here. Look, I'm interested in looking at those kind of metrics, and in the fullness of time, we'll collect enough data to understand what they mean. But I'll give you an example. We have things called incidentalomas. Incidentalomas are basically abnormal findings on X-rays. Yeah. Now, if we didn't use X-rays so much, we'd never pick them up, and actually they're just fine and they're not a problem for anyone. However, we are picking these signals up, and people are starting to over-investigate, certain areas of the human body. And I think we could fall into that category. So where I'm at with wearables is I think it's really interesting to give people insight, if it's credible, about their metrics, and maybe in the future at some point we'll be able to inform risk models. But I agree, we have to collect the data. How useful it is right now, I don't know.
Okay, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about your journey, because when we last spoke, it was, to me, really incredible how fast you put together your business, including engaging a team to go and build your apps. So can you just talk a bit about what that actually has been in practice, and how have you managed to move so quickly? Because speed is clearly one of the things that distinguishes people who are successful in this space.
Okay, well, first, maybe it's helpful just to give a bit of backstory. I trained as a medic, worked in the NHS for 5 years as a surgeon, then went to work in consulting, strategy and M&A for 5 years and commercialised my career. And then I've spent 7 years at Bupa doing group strategy and M&A. I ran strategy and M&A for our UK business across insurance and provision, and then I was director of new ventures. So that's where I cut my teeth on product and technology, because I was a venture builder. So I've kind of got a head start, I think, in the know-how and understanding of delivery of care, and how businesses run in healthcare and how insurance works. So I think that's helped me quite a lot. And then I guess lean startup mentality. I'm a solo founder. I incorporated the company in July, and then basically started going pretty quickly in terms of initial proposition development, getting carriers and MGAs on board to get underwriting capacity and authorization, and now we're in product design and policy build.
Yeah, no, it's a really impressive story. I want to come back and have a longer discussion with you about that, because I think there's some great lessons. But just, I guess, one thing to close. So if you've got access to a cloud or a Google Cloud environment, what does that give you in addition to what you might be doing if you didn't have access to a cloud?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't started build, but clearly every business goes cloud native now. Serverless compute, hosting, data warehousing, and I think it's already been mentioned about 100 times, but all the data tools, analytics, machine learning, and AI, I think are really powerful for us. So we would welcome, credits in any of those tools for us to be able to spin up our product.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Amber. We'll invite you back when you've had your first Series B round to be a host for our future event.
That's very kind. I hope so. Thank you very much.
Now, we're very grateful to all our members for their support, and if you're one of our corporate members, thank you very much. This enables us in turn to help early stage companies such as Caura and Hlthie get on stage and onto our podcasts. Now, if you're enjoying the podcast, or you've also been to some of our live events, you may be interested to know that you can now also join us every week for our live chat events. We're running these on the Bright Talk platform, and details of how to find it are in the episode notes, or you could just search InsTech London Bright Talk, and of course find us at www.instech.london. You can join in just to listen and watch us. You can ask a question, and coming soon we're going to have live polls. We're also very interested in any of you that would like to co-host with us. So if you'd like to learn more about getting involved, please do drop me an email, matthew@instech.london, to discuss it further.